Hello everyone, today's poem is 绝句二首 by 杜甫. 绝句 is one type of poem started from the Tang Dynasty. Basically, before Tang Dynasty, the most of the poems were so-called 古诗, sort of the ancient poems. And since Tang Dynasty, even the new right poems would be categorized as two main categories. One is still 古诗, the ancient poems. The other is 近体诗, is the recent poems. The major differences between the ancient poems, 古诗, and the recent poems, 近体诗, is the ancient poems, the length of the sentences is not fixed. It could be 5 character, could be 7 character, or could be other numbers of characters. And also, the numbers of sentences in each poem is not fixed. It could be 4 sentences, could be 8 sentences, or could be other number sentences in one poem. And also the rhythm even has some of the rules, but it's quite simple and not very strictly defined. And 近体诗 actually is on the contrary. It has 5 characters in a sentence, 五言, it's so-called 五言, or 7 characters in a sentence, which is called 七言. And with 五言, it also has 2 types, which is 五律 or 五绝. 五律 has 8 sentences, and 五绝 only has 4 sentences. So this one is today we have is belongs to the 绝句, so it has 4 sentences. And when we look at the poems, it has 5 characters, so it could be also be so called as 五绝. So either way, 五绝, 绝句, could also be used as for this sentences, or it could be called as. Okay, today we will have 2 poems of 五绝, because of the poet 杜甫 written it as 2 poems, so it's not a 五律. So if we take it as 1 poems, it's a 五律, so another type of the poems. And as we know, 杜甫 wrote it as 2 poems, so it's 2 poems, and the type is 五绝. It's a bit complicated. Okay, it's nothing of importance, but I just give you some of the idea that the theory of the poem or the rule of the poems has been changed a lot or involved a lot in the Tang Dynasty. So if you have the interest, you can dig it out. It looks like a very simple picturesque poems. Anyhow, I would like to use the traditional Chinese method, 知人论事, to analyze this poem and to appreciate this poem. You should know the people and you should know the times, and then you can have a much better understanding of this poem. So if we use this method, 知人论事, I think you can check the other videos about 杜甫. So I have several videos of 杜甫's poem already, so I give you a list. So from the time frame when before 40s, before 杜甫 40s, he's pursuing the positions in the government. He stays in the capital city, Chang'an. So you can check the poem 丽人行, which describes the best time of the Tang Dynasty, and Du Fu was in the capital city Chang'an. And later on, the civil war, 安史之乱, broke, and you can check 春望, the poem named 春望. So that was 1 year after the civil war broke. The civil war actually lasts for 10 years, so there's so many miserables everybody went through. And so at that time, it's just a bit late, a little bit over 40. He's 40, and he's with strong will to recover the country, and also he has so many worry and sorrows about the country and his families. That's 春望. And later on, after 10 years of the civil war, and he gets some positions during the time, and then he was totally unsatisfied, or he feels is so disappointed on the political things here, and he quit his jobs, his positions to serve the emperor very closely, and he forget all the things about the government. And anyhow, he's worried about the people, or he's a very, very kind-hearted person, still keeps sane. And then he went to Chengdu city, stayed for 4 years. So this period is very key period for Du Fu, because finally he after this period became the Du Fu, as most people thought that he was always a very sad people. The poem he wrote is with a lot of sadness, and all he worries is about the people, nothing about the political things, nothing about the emperors. That's the most of the intellectuals in Tang Dynasty did. But Du Fu is quite different. So the poems reflected he's always worrying about the sadness, the poor poverty of the people. He's worried about that. He's a very, very good people. So during this time, at the very beginning, he actually had a very good life. He built his house, Du Fu Cao Tang, in the suburb of Chengdu city. Now it's a public gardens now. You can pay a visit there. Very beautiful place. And he didn't work. He was on his good friends. Two good friends supply his living. So he's just do his leisure work and plant some of the veggies in his own garden. It's a very good life. So you can feel the situation by two poems. One is 春夜细雨. So check the video, 春夜细雨. And he lead a very peaceful life. So he have the time or have the feelings to observe the surrounding situations, the spring, the beautiful mountain, the river, the birds, whatsoever. So he's living a very peaceful and happy life with his families. Before that, he was not always with family, so he and not to see the civil wars. That's a big disaster for everybody. And then this poem. So this poem is also when he write this poem. Today we are sharing later on. He's with leading a very good and happy and peace life. And then something changed in the last period when he was living in Chengdu city. 茅屋为秋风所破歌, a very famous one for Chengdu. So most Chinese, when we thought about Du Fu, this one is on the short list poems that associated with 杜甫. Why? Because his good friends, 2 friends, has gone. So he lost the supply or support to his family. So he has no money, he has no food, and of course his house is in a poor status of maintenance. So when the big wind blows, his house has gone. So finally he ended his life in Chengdu city after 4 years living here, and he went downstream of the Yangtze River to find his other friends who can support him. And during this period, he's so poor, and he has no feelings or no thoughts about the countries. Anyhow, he has a very keen observation on the poor people, and also he was pretty old. He know he don't have too much time. So during this time, check the video 江南逢李龟年. So you can feel that he's in his last time, and what he do is the memories. They recall his glorious and wonderful time, and some of the other things recalls. So through all the videos and his lifetime, you can have another background to the specific poems, and then you try to fill the poems again. That's what's so-called 知人论事. Okay, let's have this very peaceful and colorful, beautiful poems about spring Dufu wrote in Chengdu city. Okay, let's have the poem. 迟日江山丽，春风花草香。泥融飞燕子，沙暖睡鸳鸯。迟日 refers to the spring days. It was from the Book of Songs, this wording. 江山丽, you see here, 江山, the rivers and mountains, but the term is normally refers to the southern place. It means the landscape so beautiful. 江山, the country land, the landscape so beautiful. 春风花草香. So the spring wind blows the very good smell of the flowers and grass. So that's the spring. 泥融飞燕子, the mud melted because in the winter it was frozen. So you see the snow, the ice melted, and the swallows is flying around. So here I want to point out the swallow is a very typical literacy image in the China literatures. So normally it has several meanings. One is the swallow is very homeward bound animals, so it flies away in the autumn and flies back to the same house, the same roof in the spring. And also it always in couples. And the recent study shows that the swallows in Beijing area, they fly to the South Africa in the autumn, and then they fly all the way from the South Africa, from the Middle East, and from the wider South Asia, and then back to Beijing. What a long journey! But in the ancient time, the Chinese know the swallows fly to the south, and they think there's some southern places not so far away. So without such, the swallows, first of all, it resembles the value of families, or it's a symbolic family animal. And also it fly back in the spring, so it resembles the time of spring. And also it implies a time changing, because every year when you see the swallows, it's 1 year past. 沙暖睡鸳鸯. Sha, the sands on the riverbed is getting warm, and the mandarin ducks, they sleep very well on the warm sand. 鸳鸯, the mandarin ducks, is another very typical figure to resemble the value of love and family, because when it appears, it always in couple, the male duck, the female duck. If one of them died, the other will not live further. He or she will die afterwards. So basically, the first poem shows a very, very beautiful, typical springtime. And it's warm, it's very happy, it's very in a leisure. It looks like the poet depicting all the things surrounding, not himself, but actually that's the reflection of his inner mind, his inner world. He's very happy and he's in a leisure. His family is all together and they have a very warm and very happy life together. Okay, let's have the second poem. 江碧鸟逾白，山青花欲燃。今春看又过，何日是归年。 So why this poem is so famous? Because of the two sentences in this poem. 江碧鸟逾白，山青花欲燃。 So the B is the color between blue and green. So it says the river is in such a beautiful color like jade. So that's the color of jade. Blue-green or green-blue. And it contrasts the white bird, makes the white bird more white. Yu is superior. So it means the white bird is white, of course, but this blue-green river make the contrast of the white bird more white. It's hard to see these scenic views in the big pictures like Dufu in the Tang Dynasty, but still can be seen in a lot of the countryside. So before I basically living in the northern place, there's no such views like the South China. And when I moved to the South China for a couple of years, I saw some of the pictures. Trust me, it's so touching and so moving a picture. And you will never forget the views, the green-blue river shadows the white birds, or the green mountains shadow the white birds, was whatsoever. And the 山青花欲燃, so it says the mountain is so green, and it shadows or make the contrast to the flowers. It looks like the flowers is like a fire, a flame. And I had one time get the feeling in the Jerusalem, and there's a lot of sort of the flowers like the pictures, and I asked the people nearby, the local people, what's the name for that flower? They tell me the name was so-called crazy Arab. Of course, that's for kiddings, but the image remind me of these sentences. 山青花欲燃. Even the mountain is not so green in the Jerusalem. So you can have an imagination that the so green mountain in the South China, it make the contrast to the red flowers. Look from a distance, you think it's not flower, it's just like the fire, the flame. 今春看又过，何日是归年? So this spring, it looks like it's almost past. So from this sentence, we know it's late spring or it's early summer almost. 看又过, it looks like it's past again. So it's 2 or 3 years living in Chengdu already, not the first year, of course. 何日是归年? So what time is the date to go back? So whenever you saw the character 归 in the classic literature, you should know that it always has several implications. First of all, in the surface, or most time, it refers to go back home, homeward bound. So that's the family values, and also that could be when a person is really very old, he should go back home to die in his home, or at least he should be buried in his home where his ancestors' tomb is. The other thing is, from the philosophy point of view, is 归 is the destination, or is the death of the person. So whenever the people talk about 归, it always has 2 double meanings or other meanings as well. But going home or to die is always there. So here we can feel that Du Fu already think he's really old, he's aged, and of course he has some of the illness and he's aging, and he know there's not much time for him. So he know that's the time to think about or talk about how to die, or when to go home to die. So that's the meaning. So actually, just 2 years later, he died on the journey down the Yangtze River. Okay, this poem is, normally we don't talk so much about the other aspects of this poem. So the most people, when we appreciate this poem, is the 2 most famous sentences and very scenic and very touching pictures scenarios. 江碧鸟逾白，山青花欲燃. Okay, that's for today. Bye-bye.